This case is one of the most famous unsolved mysteries in history, and for good reason. This is the story of the Springfield Three. On June 7th, 1992, three friends left their hotel room at around 6:30 p.m. They were planning to meet up with some other people that night and go to a local nightclub called Limelight, but they never made it. That night, Stacy Smart, 23, Rebecca Roots, 24, and her boyfriend, 25-year-old Jason Linsner, vanished without a trace. Over the years, many theories have come forward about what really happened to these three friends, but none of them have been proven. To this day, nobody knows what happened to them. We will look into the details of this mysterious case and try to find out if any of those theories have merit. Jason and Rebecca went to Stacy's old house to pick up some of her belongings, including her car. One of their mutual friends, Gary Dean, told reporters, "We were supposed to all get together, meet the girls at the Ramada Inn, then all go to Limelight together." They followed hundreds of leads, but none of them panned out. The case quickly turned cold. The first theory is that they ran away together. At the time, there was a serial killer named Richard Franklin Dick who was terrorizing the state of Missouri. Maybe they joined a cult, or maybe they were sacrificed by one. It is possible that the three friends faked their own deaths and are living somewhere else under false identities. However, this seems very unlikely considering that it would have to be incredibly stupid to do so. Faking a death is extremely difficult and expensive. Not to mention they would have to get new IDs, bank accounts, phone numbers, etc. And even then, it's likely that someone would recognize them eventually. After the news broke out, a woman named Vivian Camden came forward and said that she saw Stacy at a party wearing a t-shirt that said Satan. Even though this sounds insane, the police couldn't rule out this possibility, so they began looking into it. His MO was to abduct young women, torture them, and then kill them. After hearing about this case, Dick actually came forward and said that he was innocent, and the three friends are still considered missing persons. Many theories have been proposed, but none of them have been proven. They could have been murdered and their bodies hidden. They could have been abducted by a serial killer, or they could have simply run away. Truth be told, at this point, nobody knows. What's even more unfortunate is that it might never be solved. He even offered to take a polygraph test to prove it, but police refused. Their reasoning was that he had already failed one polygraph test in another case, and therefore, they did not feel that it was necessary to let him do another one. Still, the police had to consider the possibility that he was somehow involved. Considering that all three of them disappeared at once, many believe that they ran away together as a couple. Maybe they decided to leave their old lives behind and start over somewhere else. But this theory does not make much sense considering that they left behind their jobs, their families, their friends, and most importantly, their dogs. Why would you abandon your pets if you were running away? The second theory is that they were kidnapped by a stranger. But if this was the case, why was their car left behind? Usually kidnappers drive the victim's car, or at least take it with them so that they can get rid of it later. The third theory is that they were all murdered. Maybe they accidentally stumbled upon a crime scene and witnessed something they shouldn't have. Or maybe someone they owed money to finally decided to collect on their debt. But where are their bodies? If they were truly murdered, wouldn't their bodies have been found by now? All these years later, this is one of the biggest questions in the case. When they didn't show up, we thought maybe they decided to stay in the hotel room and watch TV. But then, after about an hour or so, we got worried. So some of their friends began calling their phones, but they went straight to voicemail. At this point, they decided to call the police and report them missing. After grabbing her things, the trio decided to head to the hotel to get settled before going out for the night. Officers searched the area where the three were last seen and found nothing. The only evidence that they had at the time was the contents of their hotel room. A lot of the stuff they had assumed that they would need to investigate a missing person-esque case was not there. For example, their car was missing. The three of them had left it in the parking lot of the hotel, but when officers arrived, it was gone. Even stranger is that nobody had reported seeing anyone stealing the vehicle. Surveillance cameras were also not available since there weren't any back then. Also, the three friends had no known enemies, so the police did not have any leads. The only thing that made any sense was that they had left together, and so wherever they were probably together. Unfortunately, this led the investigators to believe that foul play might have been involved. There is no footage of the three of them after they arrived at the hotel, but police believe that they left their room at around 6:30 p.m. They were supposed to meet up with some of their friends from high school that night and go to the Limelight Disco Club, but they never showed up. Nobody knows what happened to them. In today's episode of What Happened, the victim, Stacy Lynn Smart, was born in March of 1968. She grew up in Republic, Missouri, a small town near Springfield, Missouri, where this case took place. At the time of her disappearance, Stacy lived in a small 2-bedroom house with her mother and stepfather. According to the people who knew her, Stacy was a free spirit. She was intelligent but struggled with attention deficit disorder, which made it hard for her to focus on school. So she ended up getting her GED instead of a high school diploma. She was also a heavy drug user, frequently using marijuana, LSD, and other drugs. However, even though Stacy had a lot of problems in her life, she was still very optimistic. Her family and friends described her as being someone who could make friends easily. In fact, that's how she met her friend Rebecca Sue. Roots was born on October 25th, 1967. At the time of the incident, she worked as a secretary at a law firm and lived in an apartment complex called Park Central. It was there that she first met Stacy through a mutual friend. Rebecca liked Stacy's carefree attitude towards life, and despite their 5-year age gap, they quickly became friends. Soon after meeting, the two started hanging out together almost every day, going to parties and having fun. It was only a few months later when Rebecca introduced Stacy to her boyfriend, Jason Paul Lunsford. Jason was a truck driver who was also serving in the Air National Guard. He and Rebecca had been dating for about 6 months before they were introduced to Stacy, and all three of them soon became close friends. On the day they disappeared, Stacy had just moved into Rebecca's apartment because her stepfather had kicked her out of the house. When they failed to show up that night, their friends began to worry. The investigation, after receiving the missing persons report, the Springfield Police Department immediately launched an investigation. Over the next few days, hundreds of officers worked tirelessly on the case, searching everywhere and interviewing everyone. Theories throughout the years. Many theories have come forward about what really happened to the Springfield Three, and unfortunately, all of them are equally disturbing. One of the most popular theories is that they were abducted by a serial killer. Another theory is that the three friends were involved in some sort of cult activity. Finally, the last theory is that they are still alive somewhere. Conclusion to this day, nobody knows what really happened to the Springfield Three. All these years later, the case remains unsolved. What do you think happened to the Springfield Three? Do you think they are dead or alive? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I would greatly appreciate it. Thank you for watching.